There is a very specific kind of frustration that is difficult to explain to other people. Your life may not even look bad. You work, you pay your bills, you have responsibilities. Maybe people around you think you're doing fine. And yet, somewhere underneath all of that, there is this persistent feeling. This cannot be all I'm supposed to be doing. You don't necessarily know what the alternative is. That's what makes it frustrating. If you hated everything about your life, the answer would be easier. Leave, change, start over. But that's usually not what happens. Instead, you live somewhere between gratitude and dissatisfaction. Part of you says, you should appreciate what you have. And another part quietly answers, I do. But I still feel like something is missing. So you search. Maybe you watch videos about purpose. You take personality tests. You read about astrology. You learn your life path number. You try human design. You think about starting a business, changing careers, moving somewhere else, creating something, helping people, doing work that actually feels like you. And occasionally you feel a burst of clarity. This is it. You get excited. You make plans. For 3 days, maybe 3 weeks, you feel alive again. And then somehow, nothing happens. The idea goes back into the drawer. The course sits unfinished. The account never gets launched. The application never gets sent. The project becomes another note on your phone. And eventually, that old feeling comes back. I'm meant for more. But if you're meant for more, why aren't you doing it? That question can become brutal. Because after enough time, you stop blaming circumstances and start blaming yourself. Maybe I'm lazy. Maybe I'm afraid. Maybe I'm unrealistic. Maybe everybody feels this way. Maybe I just need more discipline. Maybe I'm not actually meant for anything special. But there's another possibility. Maybe the problem isn't that you have no purpose. Maybe the problem is that there is a gap between feeling your purpose and building a life capable of carrying it. Those are completely different things. A person can feel an incredibly strong sense of direction internally and still have no structure for expressing it externally. You can know that you're supposed to create and still work 12 hours somewhere that drains every creative impulse from you. You can know that you're supposed to help people and still believe you aren't qualified enough to charge for what you know. You can know that a relationship is keeping you small and still be terrified of what your life looks like without it. You can know exactly what you want and still spend years waiting for permission to become the person who chooses it. That isn't always lack of purpose. Sometimes it's interference. And interference is much harder to recognize because the signal is still there. That's why the feeling doesn't disappear. If you truly wanted nothing different, you would eventually settle into the life you have. But something keeps disturbing the peace. A conversation, a video, someone else's success, a trip, a birthday, a Sunday night, a moment alone in the car. And suddenly, the question returns. What am I doing with my life? Most people immediately try to answer that question by finding a new career. But purpose is not necessarily a job. That's one of the first traps. We have been trained to translate, what am I here to do, into, what occupation should I have? Those are not the same question. Your work can express your purpose, but purpose is usually deeper than your job title. Think about 2 teachers. One teaches because it pays the bills. The other teaches because something in her comes alive when another person suddenly understands something. Same profession, different relationship with purpose. Now think about 2 entrepreneurs. One loves building systems. The other loves recognition. Same profession, different internal engine, or 2 nurses, 2 artists, 2 parents, 2 accountants, 2 creators. The activity alone doesn't tell you the purpose. The pattern underneath the activity does. So if you feel stuck, asking, what career should I choose, may actually be too small a question. A better question is, what keeps trying to express itself through me? What are you repeatedly drawn toward? What kind of problem do people naturally bring to you? What can you talk about for hours without being forced? What injustice bothers you more than it seems to bother everyone else? What kind of work makes time disappear? What do you keep returning to even after you tell yourself to forget about it? Those repetitions matter because purpose often doesn't arrive as a dramatic revelation. It arrives as a pattern. And because it's familiar, you underestimate it. You say, everyone can do that. No, everyone cannot do what comes naturally to you. It feels ordinary because you've been living inside your own mind your entire life. Imagine someone who has always been excellent at seeing what is wrong with a system. They walk into a business and immediately notice, this process makes no sense. This person is doing the wrong job. Customers are getting stuck here. This could be simpler. To them, that's obvious, so they don't value it. Meanwhile, another person could stare at the same company for 6 months and never see what they saw in 10 minutes. Your strongest abilities often hide from you because they don't feel difficult. But ability still isn't enough. You can know your strength and remain stuck. Because there's a second question. What happens inside you when it's time to use that strength publicly? This is where many people discover the actual block. You love writing, but publishing makes you uncomfortable. You understand people extremely well, but charging for advice feels arrogant. You're a natural leader, but visibility makes you feel exposed. You're full of ideas, but finishing one creates the possibility that people can judge it. You want independence, but uncertainty makes you cling to a job you stopped wanting years ago. Do you see the pattern? The obstacle often appears at the exact point where internal potential must become external reality. And because that point is uncomfortable, we create explanations. I need another certification. I need more money first. I need a better idea. I'll start when things calm down. I need to research it more. It's not the right time. Some of those reasons can be legitimate, but here's the uncomfortable test. How long have you been saying them? If you've been almost ready for 4 years, readiness probably isn't the problem. Something else is receiving a benefit from keeping you where you are. Security, approval, predictability, belonging, avoiding embarrassment, avoiding failure, sometimes even avoiding success. Yes, success. Because success changes relationships. It changes expectations. It changes identity. If you become successful at something nobody around you understands, suddenly you become different. And humans are deeply sensitive to belonging. Part of you may want expansion, while another part asks, if I change too much, will I still belong here? That's why some people sabotage the exact opportunity they've been asking for. They don't consciously decide, I want to remain stuck. They hesitate, delay, overthink, lower the price. Don't send the proposal. Don't post the video. Choose the safe option. And then tell themselves, I guess it wasn't meant to happen. Be careful with that sentence. Sometimes, it wasn't meant to happen is wisdom. Sometimes it's fear wearing spiritual clothing. There's another reason people feel meant for more but remain stuck. Their imagined future is too large to translate into today's behavior. They picture the business, the audience, the book, the new career, the freedom, the completely different life. And the distance between here and there feels enormous. So instead of beginning, they fantasize. Fantasizing is emotionally rewarding because you get to experience the future without risking the present. You can imagine being a writer without allowing anybody to read your writing. Imagine having a business without asking someone to buy. Imagine moving without packing anything. Imagine becoming somebody new without disappointing the people who prefer the old version. This is why purpose needs structure. Without structure, purpose becomes fantasy. And without purpose, structure becomes routine. You need both, the signal and the container, the direction and the next step. So let's make this practical. If you feel that you're meant for more, stop asking yourself what your entire life should become. That question is too large. Ask, what is the smallest honest move I already know I should make? Not the perfect move, the honest one. Maybe it's creating the account, calling someone, applying, publishing, learning one skill, ending something, starting something, setting a boundary, giving yourself 2 hours every Sunday to work on the idea you've been thinking about for 3 years. Your purpose doesn't need you to understand the next 20 years. It needs you to stop betraying the next obvious step. And then watch what happens. Because action produces information that thinking cannot. You might discover you hate the thing you thought was your purpose. Excellent. Now you know. You might discover you love one part and hate another. Good. Now the signal becomes clearer. You might fail. That's also information. You adjust. The path becomes visible through movement, not through endless analysis. There is another question worth asking. What part of your current identity would have to die for your next life to begin? That's a difficult question. Maybe you're the responsible one, the safe one, the employee, the person who never takes risks, the one everybody depends on, the person who doesn't disappoint the family, the person who starts things but never finishes, the person who says, I'm just not that kind of person. Sometimes the life you say you want is incompatible with the identity you're still protecting. And that's why progress feels like loss. You aren't only gaining a new life, you're losing an old definition of yourself. That can feel frightening even when the new direction is right. But there is something worse than changing. It's spending another 10 years negotiating with the same feeling. Because this feeling usually doesn't disappear when ignored. It gets louder. At 25, it sounds like curiosity. At 35, it may sound like frustration. At 45, it can sound like regret. Eventually, the question changes from, what could I become? To, why didn't I do it when I knew? That is why this matters. Not because everyone needs a dramatic mission. Not because you're required to become famous, wealthy, spiritual, influential, or extraordinary. Purpose doesn't mean grandiosity. Sometimes purpose is raising one child differently than you were raised, building a peaceful home, creating beautiful things nobody remembers your name for, teaching, repairing, protecting, organizing, leading, listening, solving. Purpose is not about impressing the world. It's about reducing the distance between who you are internally and how you actually live. And that distance is what many people experience as being stuck. You know yourself at one level. Your life expresses something else. The larger that gap becomes, the more restless you feel. So here's what I want you to do. Take a piece of paper. Write, "The life I'm living requires me to be." Finish the sentence honestly. Then write, "The life I keep imagining would require me to become." Look at the difference. That's the gap. And then ask, what am I protecting by not crossing it? Security? A relationship? Someone's approval? An identity? Comfort? The possibility of never finding out whether you're actually capable? Don't judge the answer. Just see it. Because you cannot change a pattern you refuse to name. And there may be several patterns operating at once. One part of you may be completely clear about what you want. Another may be terrified of visibility. Another may struggle to receive money for what you do. Another may know exactly where you're going, but have no structure to turn it into a real life. This is why generic advice often fails. Follow your passion. Just start. Believe in yourself. It sounds good, but two people can feel equally stuck for completely different reasons. One needs courage. Another needs structure. Another needs boundaries. Another needs permission to receive. Another needs to stop living according to an identity that expired 10 years ago. So if you've spent years feeling, I know there's more for me, but I can't understand why I can't reach it, don't automatically interpret that as failure. Treat it as information. Something is trying to move, and something else is interrupting it. Your job is to find both, the signal and the interference. If you want to go deeper, this is exactly what I look for in a personal map, where your strongest signals are, where the interference sits, and how those patterns interact. You'll find the personal map below if you want to explore yours. But even if you never do that, remember this. Feeling meant for more does not mean you're destined for some enormous life. It means something inside you recognizes a gap between the life you're living and the life that feels more true. And you don't close that gap by understanding your entire future. You close it by making the next honest move, then another, until one day you look around and realize the life you kept imagining from a distance is the life you're finally standing inside.